So later, as we describe more about what went on in Bolivia, I'll tell you a few of our experiences, medical experiences with those vehicles, as well as learning to drive in very difficult conditions.
Muddy. Muddy conditions.
Muddy conditions, and dusty, and avalanches, and all kinds of stuff. Animals in the road. I've driven down railroad tracks. I've done lots of things. Learned how to ford rivers without drowning out an engine, that kind of stuff. But shortly after we arrived, Dave Danielson, who I think was mentioned by Diane Hilbino to you, was a Peace Corps public health consultant in Washington. He eventually came to Bolivia to be part of this program, and he was there. And he told us that Peace Corps was developing this program and asked if we wanted to be a part of it. And I had already, in trying to learn what was going on, most of the volunteers in country at the time were so-called community development volunteers. That is, volunteers who came there to do good, but without any specific approach. They were asked to go live in a small community and then work with that community to better itself. A really tough task in a new culture and a new language for most. And I went on the first time that a volunteer was taken to his site. It turned out it was a man on the Altiplano. I went with the Peace Corps rep, so that's what we call people who were the managers of volunteers. So this rep had an area of the Altiplano which he was supervising and managing a group of volunteers. He invited me to go along with him, and I jumped at the chance to get a sense of what this was like. So we were in a van. Volunteer was in the van, and me and Mickey Melregan, the representative, and the volunteer's gear in the back, everything he reportedly would need for the next 2 years, right? A couple of suitcases, a sleeping bag, a knapsack, and whatever he had in it.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper. So we left after lunch and got up on the Altiplano and drove and drove and drove and arrived at his village as it was getting dark. So we're up at over 13,000 feet. Everything's brown. We come into this little village that has a central square, which, you know, with a mud road around it, had a concrete sidewalk around it and some scraggly bushes in the center of it, and some sort of little stand in the middle. And then a bunch of adobe brick houses, some of them thatched roofs, some of them tin roofs. Not a light anywhere, and it was now gloomy. So Mickey pulls the van up to the square, gets out, opens the back door, takes all the volunteer stuff out, puts it on the side, gets a volunteer out, says, "Here's your town," shakes his hand and says, "Good luck." And we got in the van and drove away. And I was just astounded. I didn't anticipate that, and I had never expected it, as I said, and somehow that volunteer in the dark was supposed to find a place to stay. There was not a soul around. There were some very faint lights glowing out of windows. They were mostly gas or kerosene lanterns, candles, and that was it. And we got in the van and drove away. I looked at him and said, "Are you serious? Is this the way?" He said, "They make it or they don't." He said, "We've been preparing them